In the limitless canvas of the Marvel Universe, some confrontations shake existence at its roots. Today, we explore one such impossible battle. Knull, the ancient god of darkness and creator of the symbiotes, versus Franklin Richards, the Omega-level reality shaper, who can will new universes into being. This is not merely a duel of strength. It is the end of all things colliding with the beginning of endless possibility. Knull is the living night that preceded creation, a hunter forged in the absolute quiet before the first star. Franklin is the spark of Genesis, a child whose imagination carries the architecture of realities. When these forces meet, the question is simple, yet terrifying. Can perfect void consume creation, or can creation rewrite the very story of the void? Our journey follows their origins, their powers, the battlefield itself, and a decisive verdict that leaves no ambiguity for fans or skeptics. We'll tell this story in a way that every word feels easy to follow, and every scene paints a picture in your mind. Close your eyes, feel the chill of Knull's darkness and the warmth of Franklin's newborn suns, as we step into a battle that reaches across galaxies, thoughts, and the very meaning of existence. Origins of darkness and creation. Knull's legend begins before light. When the first firmament held unbroken darkness, he drifted in contented nothingness. Then the Celestials arrived, bearing fire and structure, and Knull perceived their light as a trespass. In a single act of blasphemous artistry, he decapitated a Celestial and forged the all-black, the Necrosword, from its head. With that blade, he declared a holy war against illumination and life. He seeded a living abyss across space, molding symbiotes into chains that bound worlds, gagged minds, and turned bright civilizations into cathedrals of silence. Where he walked, languages forgot their words for dawn. For ages uncounted he refined his creed. Light is arrogance, life is noise, order is an insult to the beautiful zero. Every victory fed the myth of an invincible hunter who collects suns like trophies and who laughs at prayer. Yet even Knull's saga bears the fingerprints of resistance, storms he did not plan for, mortals who burned brighter than expected, gods who learned new songs. He hates these footnotes, they prove that creation can improvise. Franklin Richards could not be more different. Born on Earth to Reed and Sue Richards, he looked ordinary until the veil slipped. Even as a child, his dreams produced pocket universes, his compassion resurrected the fallen, his curiosity bent time like soft metal. Cosmic entities watched him with wary awe. The Watcher kept notes. Galactus found a companion rather than a meal. To some, Franklin seemed less a person and more an unfinished equation whose answer is infinity. Here lie the opposing myths. Knull is subtraction without end. Franklin is addition without limit. Knull seeks to return everything to unlit stillness. Franklin strives toward abundance, toward complexity and life. Their histories are two philosophies given bodies. Annihilation made flesh against creation walking barefoot through nebulae. Powers and abilities, the Dark Blade versus the Living God. Knull's portfolio is horrifyingly direct. The all-black Necrosword lacerates gods, wounds celestials, and tears at metaphysical seams. He commands a hive of symbiotes like a conductor leading a screaming orchestra, drowning planets beneath a tide of living tar. He moves in the folds between light, stifles stars, births titans from shadow, and heals from atrocities that should end any being. The more he spreads darkness, the more the battlefield becomes his cathedral. He is also cunning. Knull does not only smash, he corrupts. He turns heroes into hosts, faith into fuel for despair, structure into rot. Entire armadas have arrived to stop him and left as additions to his choir. His reach is not limited to flesh because stories themselves fear him. The rumor of Knull softens spines and opens doors. Franklin Richards operates on a different axis. He does not escalate force. He replaces the rules that define force. If space is hostile, he drafts a friendlier geometry. If time rebels, he persuades it to flow in a kinder direction. Matter rearranges under his intention, energy sings to the notes of his will. He has built universes that function, evolve, and love. The limiting reagent is not power but choice, how much of himself he is willing to spend, and how sharply he is willing to focus. Franklin's weaknesses are human ones: fatigue, compassion, restraint. He is not a sadist, and that kindness can be exploited by a predator like Knull. But if Franklin elects to conclude a threat, he has the literacy to edit reality's paragraph and remove the punctuation that permits the threat to breathe. This contrast matters. Knull excels at overwhelming presence and lethal decisiveness. Franklin excels at adaptation and conceptual supremacy. Knull remains terrifying inside the multiversal frame. Franklin can redraw the frame and hang a new painting where the old one once was. Against conventional gods, Knull dominates. Against an author of reality, he risks becoming a character on the margins. The battle. Creation meets the void. Imagine a newborn galaxy that Franklin has just breathed into order. Young stars pirouette, infant worlds drift like curious thoughts, then the starlight dims. A horizon of black advances, and every orbiting stone feels a hunger it cannot name. Knull arrives, cloak like a wound in the sky, Necrosword low and sure. Symbiote tsunamis fall upon moons, temples, and mines. Knull opens with cruelty and speed. Tendrils lance toward Franklin, intending to cocoon and corrupt. Franklin lifts a hand, the tide turns to harmless motes, then to migrating fireflies, then to nothing at all. Knull smiles without warmth and answers by smothering the region in absolute night, stealing reference points, stealing courage. Franklin declines the invitation to panic. He drafts a pocket realm where light is a law, not a suggestion, and the hive mind loses reception like a phone at the end of the world. The duel grows stranger. Knull swings all black, a cut that could edit gods from continuity. The blade reaches Franklin but finds the space around him recompiled. Edges become curves, murder becomes breeze. Knull splits into armies, knights and dragons hammered from void. Franklin reinterprets them as guardians of dawn that refuse their maker. They kneel, then evaporate like old grief. Even so, Knull does not quit. His will is an ancient glacier, slow but devastating. Now the fight becomes one of attention and endurance. Franklin's compassion wars with necessity, Knull weaponizes hesitation. The Necrosword concentrates, a single definitive intent, a spear aimed at the heart of creation. Time hesitates. Sound leaves. Franklin chooses clarity over mercy. He writes a new clause into the story. In this domain, there has never been a substance called all black. Language searches for the word and comes up empty. The blade dissolves into a vocabulary error. The god who depended on that noun falters. Knull roars and tries a different sin. Dominion through infection. He floods the realm with a black rain of microscopic symbiotes, each a vow of domination. Franklin answers with abundance instead of denial. He seeds the air with self-correcting light, a field of living rules that welcome complexity but reject coercion. The rain arrives and is taught kindness against its will. Cells that desired slavery learn the joy of release, detach, and drift like dandelion seeds toward quiet orbits. Franklin seals the victory with gentleness rather than cruelty. He folds Knull into an unlit, non-lethal quarantine, an idea placed on a shelf outside causality where rage cannot reach a target and void cannot learn a path. The newborn galaxy brightens. Night remains, as it always must, but it is no longer a tyrant, only a place where rest is possible. Creation sings softly. The echoes answer with gratitude. Final result. Who would win? Knull is terror perfected, an executioner of suns, a sovereign of extinction. Put him against pantheons and kings, and he writes endings with brutal poetry. But Franklin Richards is not an emperor inside the story. He is a quiet editor of the story's grammar. Knull slashes within the script. Franklin changes the alphabet. Therefore, the verdict is clear and final. Franklin Richards wins. He does not outpunch Knull. He outdefines him. He removes the premise that empowers the god of darkness and replaces it with a framework where life has the last word. If Franklin remains focused and refuses sentimentality, Knull's path to victory collapses. Only catastrophic distraction or self-imposed restraint could give the darkness a window. For debates, keep the metric simple. Knull's ceiling is annihilation within reality's rules. Franklin's ceiling is authorship over the rules. Creation defeats deletion when the author is disciplined. In this imagined clash, the child who makes universes chooses mercy without surrender, light without naivety, and order without cruelty. Final answer for the record and the title card. Franklin Richards defeats Knull decisively, completely, and without lingering doubt. Even if a weary Franklin faced ambush or grief, his reflex would tilt the board, less grand, precise. In every timeline, odds favor the maker over the unmaker. Check out my other videos for more epic character crossovers and battles. Thanks for watching, and stay happy and healthy.